episode of Lux Unfiltered. And today we are going to be unfiltered because I'm angry. Actually, no, that is not strong enough. I am enraged. I can't stand the world at the minute. I can't stand the existence. I can't stand the deafening silence that is surrounding us, mostly men. So if you're a man, I'm sorry that you're listening to this. Actually, I'm glad you're listening to this because I'm going to call you in. We need you, right? So I want to talk about female rage. I want to talk about rage in general. I want to talk about the fact that it creates trauma within the body. I want to talk about the fact that it feels like nobody but women and queer folk are angry about the Epstein files, about just the general lack of any sort of support from men. I'm so angry. What just happened at the Olympics, where one of the most decorated medalists in skating had to defend the fact that she's one of the most decorated because somebody dared be like, oh, well, are you sure you didn't miss the gold? So we're angry. I'm angry today. I'm enraged. I'm full of this deep, systemic what the fuck. I am so tired of existing in a world where it only feels like women are the ones talking about it. The group chats I'm in, we're constantly talking about things. We are talking about what we can do better, how we can make our communities better, how we can stick together and find solutions. And all I'm seeing is men laughing and ignoring, just sitting in silence. And it's a male issue. You guys are killing us. You guys are harming us. You guys are raping us at any age. I'm sorry, but if you're laughing at sexist jokes, you're part of the problem. If you're not standing up to your buddies that are sending you porn that is degrading in a group chat, if you are accepting any of this behavior, you are just as much part of the problem as the people doing the thing, right? Because how is it that 1 in 3 people socialized as women will be victims of sexual assault? Actually, not victims. They will be survivors of sexual assault. 1 in 3, right? That means that every single person who knows 3 women knows that one of them will have been assaulted at some point. And it's not a one-time thing. I know so many women and people socialized as femmes that have been assaulted more than once. God forbid you add any sort of intersectionality with them being of color or disabled or I'm very enraged, and therefore I am not as eloquent as I'd like to be, and I don't think that I'll be able to be as eloquent as I'd like to be. Normally I like to write scripts, I like to talk about things, I like to think things through, but I have not been able to stop. All I can hear is outrage from my soul, from the deepest, darkest levels of my soul. I've always known that this is a problem, but now that we're seeing upon millions of files being released and people being protected because of it, and not the victims. God forbid it's the victims that we protect. No, we have to put them out to be used as martyrs and to be victimized all over again. But we're protecting these men that are purchasing, murdering, eating, devouring, destroying women and girls. How are we okay with this? How are we allowing this as a society? How are we doing this? In the UK, there is Reform is trying to pass something where they're like, if you don't have children, you're going to have to pay an extra tax. And it's like, no, people are not having children because the world is on fire. And if you're a responsible parent, you don't want that for your child, especially not your daughter, especially not your little tiny innocent life. If you were to be responsible, that is responsible parenting. I talked about it last week. You need to be settled. You need to be ready. And if you're considering bringing in children in this day and age, more power to you, because the utter systemic violence that is happening right now, it's deafening. And I haven't been sleeping. I can't eat properly. It is eating me alive that I do not know what to do. I'm a solutions person. I'm a fix-it person, and I can't fix anything. I can't do anything about this. All I can do is scream into the void, and it's exhausting. I don't know where to put this rage. I don't know what to do other than what I'm already doing, which is talking with my community and giving the tools that I know how to use to regulate my own nervous system. But like, is that really it? Am I just supposed to be okay with all of this? Am I just supposed to be like, well, that's life? And just, I don't want to be a part of a world that is purposefully harming people. The more I read up on capitalism, the more I understand communism and why there was such a war against it, because it highlights how deeply destructive capitalism is. And I've been reading this book called The Fourth Turning, and it talks about the cycles of history and how there are crises, and that's basically where we're in. We are seeing the fall of an empire, the fall of these geriatric men that have created this empire and have become richer than is needed. Even if all of these people lost 98% of their wealth, most of them would still be billionaires. What do you mean most of them would still be billionaires? There's no necessity for this. At that point, your existence is separated. And I know that that's what people want. They don't want to be part of the masses, but like, I'm talking about like, your inside existence is separated because there's no aspiration. It is only a matter of time. It's how quickly can you get the idea to execution, and that's it. There is no struggle, there is no barrier to entry, there's no stopping them, right? And I think that having a goal and striving for something is deeply human, and we all live through these things where we want to achieve and we want to do things that are powerful and meaningful and hopefully attached to our purpose. But why is it that every atrocity that is happening now is only to benefit these rich people? We're talking about the leveling of Palestine and Sudan and so many other humanitarian crises that no one talks about. And just even if you're looking at the United States as a kind of focal point, like obviously not American. I sound American, but I'm not. And having lived there, everything is pay for play, right? Like, understanding that you're now in this realm and you have to pay to exist is insane, right? If we're talking about humanity and our purpose and our drive, and I talk about the ikigai until I am blue in the face, right? Because I want people to understand their purpose, but I want them to understand how they can affect the world with it, how they can affect their own circle, how they can affect their self. And it feels like we are so far gone from understanding that taking care of a community just makes us stronger. And I understand that it is perfectly by design that we are in a place where everything is making us fear the other, fear anyone that doesn't remotely look or think like us. Like, get it. I get that everyone is scared and poor and just wanting to protect, right? But the point that I'm trying to make is that it feels like we've lost the plot. Like, you understand that if everybody is doing well, then so will you, right? Like, you understand that taking care of the most vulnerable is taking care of you. Because anybody can become disabled at any time. You can fall, break your legs, and never be able to work again. And then what? Right? And that's not to say that people that are disabled don't work. Like, find different ways. We push through. We have, like, as a means of paying for your existence, no. Working to fulfill your deepest purpose, yes. Right? We need to be able to figure out a way to get back to community. But I think the problem is we've never been there. We've never had this. And in the fourth turning, they talk about the second turning. It's the phase in cycles where that's where everyone's kind of from the post-crisis, right? So if right now we are in the crisis, we'll have basically this for like years, everything's going to bust up. But then obviously we need to rebuild our institutions. We need to figure out what's going on. So the phase after the crisis is what they call the first turning. It's the big high. It's where we rebuild strong institutions and we create optimism and conformity. And that the last time that happened was World War II, right? So where the baby boom happened, where all of our geriatric leaders are in place. But what I want to impart is that, like, yes, in this crisis, yes, everything's collapsing, but it feels like this is bigger than that, right? Like, started in 2008 with the massive financial crash, and then we've had the pandemic, and then we've had all this political polarization everywhere, and we're back into the 40s and World War. So why is it that we're constantly in these cycles? And patriarchy. That's what it is. We're in such a phase of deep distrust. And let me be clear here. Patriarchy has existed for what? 16,000 years? Humanity has existed for 260,000 years, right? So for 260,000 years, we've all existed. But it took 16,000 years for patriarchy to exist, to subjugate women, to belittle them, to realize that. And why? The only thing I can think of is a post that I the other day that basically said, if men disappeared tomorrow because of the sperm that we have, and the sperm that we have left over in those sperm banks, we would have 50 to 100 years of sperm available to repopulate with, right? And eradicate patriarchy. We step into a matriarchy and we start again, right? Obviously, unfortunately, men will stay here. So we need them to step up to the plate. However, if women or people with wombs disappeared today, humanity would be over. There would be no more birthing, right? And I think that is the fundamental fear of patriarchy. It is the fact that they are in such a precarious position that they have to create this fear and this dominance because they don't understand that being of service is where they belong. And this sounds incredibly radical, but guess what? I'm getting radicalized for matriarchy. Being of service is not being subjugated. Being of service is a choice. Being subjugated is put into systems of oppression. If we're talking about matriarchies, we are talking about systems that are socially based, that are based around children, disabled, and the land, right? It's about protecting and nurturing and care. Whereas a patriarchy would be characterized by political, economic, and family spheres that are done and executed through dominance, right? We're talking about a pyramid with patriarchy, concentric circles with matriarchy, because it's about protection, not domination. And therefore, if we're in a society that is constantly pressing, we have to remember that this is vicious, right? We talked about fascism a few episodes ago, and it's the same thing. Like, the reason we have fascism is because of patriarchy, because it needs an enemy. There needs to be this other, this fear and destroy, because we destroy what we fear, right? It's human nature to want to eradicate fear. Fear is, we all know about the fight or flight and freeze, right? We are, at the end of the day, like, we have a lizard brain, and that response was useful. But now it's only a tool for division. And I think the problem with that, rather than gathering, rather than encircling, and I think that's why in the society that we're in, we have this deep lack of education. Like, the fact that in the United States, most people don't read above a second grade level is terrifying. Like, no wonder they don't understand what's going on in their own politics and in their own cities. Because how can they? How can this lack of thought and then also be able to discern what's going on? You know what I mean? Like, I am, as you know, very anti-generative, but I do believe that AI can be useful for things, medicine, for detecting things that we wouldn't be able to detect, or computational mathematics, where we just don't have the capacity to do things like that, or in generating for people, let's say, that are disabled and need to be able to organize the thoughts that they have, and that they can, better organize the way they speak, or someone struggles with really deep anxiety, doesn't know how to not over explain themselves, having a tool like AI that they are able to kind of get everything to say out, and then that tool then helps them refine. Great. If you're using it to create a picture of your dog as a human, what are you doing? Like, go pay an artist. You know what I mean? Go pay a musician. Go pay somebody with skill. I think that there is, again, the production, back into the conversation we were just having. I think it's an incredible tool, but it's a tool of kind of flooding our things that aren't true, and people don't have the literacy because they don't read, because they don't have the critical thought, because it wasn't taught to them, because that's a fit for purpose design. They fall for things like propaganda, like a million random, this person did that and this person did this. I have no examples that come to my head because, again, full of rage. But it just feels like we aren't giving people a chance because we've given them ease. And I think the ease has always been there, right? We all have access to the internet now. You can Google whatever the fuck you want. You can figure out, like, the number of times I'll be like, what is the and then I'll go down a rabbit hole for 2 days and figure out, and, I don't know. I got obsessed with, like, sea slugs, and I was like, what is this? And I Googled and I researched. But the problem now is that Google has this AI summary that pops up, and sometimes the summary is just based off blog posts. It's not factual things. So people aren't digging the way they used to. We used to be able to go to a library to get information, and we used to be able to do all these things. And now we have access within our hands to the world's knowledge, and yet, because of algorithmic decisions that are made by these enormous corporations, we get shown slop. And I think that is part of the tactic, because I think the people that are in charge are realizing that we are gaining power in the sense that we are no longer wanting to participate. We don't want to deal with the systems that we're in. And it feels very frustrating and anger inducing because we aren't able to have choice. Like, it feels like there's no more choice. It feels like everything is some form of propaganda. I mean, this video considered that, right? I am definitely hanging on about dismantling patriarchy. I always have, I always will, because I think it is to the detriment of everyone, including men. I think the situation now where we have this massive divide between people that are socialized as women, people that are socialized as men, and we're funneling down this, like, oppositional takes. It's like, oh, men do that, and we hate men, and blah, blah, blah. And I think that the problem with that is that we are alienating each other. We're just continuing on the cycle, right? So I want to take this as an invitation to any man that is listening to step up. Please, for the love of all that is beautiful, say stuff. When you hear something that isn't cool, when you laugh at a misogynistic joke, when you hear a rape joke, when you hear men talk badly about the women in their life, say something. Just say something. I don't want to get, like, oh, the boys are going to yell. Too bad. Do you know what's cooler than that? Having a bunch of women friends who actually give a shit about you, who actually take care of you, who actually want to be involved in your life. Speak to women. The women in your life are exhausted, they're tired, they're angry, and that's why nobody wants to be anywhere. Like, anywhere near men, I mean. It just, so much of our issues would be if everyone that is a billionaire and that is normal, so to speak, and is part of the existing community, we didn't just live in these rabbit hole, narrow visions of it, and you just spoke to somebody you haven't spoken to before, and just try and get their perspective on their life, right? Rather than just mansplaining, rather than just knowing or thinking that you know better than they do. And don't get me wrong, I'm the first person who thinks I know better than everybody. I have a podcast. I am the problem. And I know that, right? But I also am adamant about giving people tools. And I'm just so sick of it. I'm sick of people that are violent with their language, violent with their intentions, violent in practice. Like, I'm sick of other posts I see is about yet another Black person being murdered, yet another child being abused, yet another country being destroyed, all for what? Money? The fuck for? Go touch some grass. Go sit on an island by yourself. Go to the mountains and speak with the wind. Like, how are we devoid of like compassion? And I hit because like, again, it's this like this person died. Oh puppy, this person died. Oh puppy, systemic, you're gonna die. This I can't do anymore. I don't want to do this anymore. I'm so sick of trying to just continue on with life without realizing that like the world is apart and I don't know what to do apart from just be like, well, life's fine where I live. Yeah. For now, landlord's pricing out of my home, so I don't know how many like months I've got here. Like, keep looking around to find somewhere else to live. Everything's like 4 times half the size. Like, what do you and I am the first to understand that I run a luxury product. It's not everybody that can afford it every month. And even though like everybody that I to, they're like, no, we love your products, really love them. They work really, really well, but I can't afford it because I have to choose between electricity or feeding my kids this month. Like, how is that a choice that somebody has to make? Like, how are we all collectively in the streets? Why? Well, because the UK destroyed our right to protest, because we just let that go, because we didn't show up to vote. What do you mean? Like, we can't, this is what happens. Like, we talked about in the episode about fascism. Like, they've come for else and now we're all here, right? And we're just letting it happen. I can't, and I don't know what to do. Apart from feed my friends, care for my friend. Okay, I've got this thing, but like, and then what? The atrocities everywhere? I don't do. Because I'm scared. I'm scared. I'm lucky that I have friends here, right? But I don't have family in this country. I don't have the means to like run away somewhere. I came here like a hope and a dream. And I think I run away from war and I didn't run away from like disastrous conditions. So I can't by any means claim that I understand that experience, but I understand the experience of being far from what you know. And I vow to get rid of this rage, and I don't want to get rid of it because I think it's important, but it's eating me alive. And I'm becoming angry at people who I don't know, that I don't deserve, and I don't want to be mean, and I don't want to be like callous and cruel. I don't want that. But it feels like that's the only way people will understand. It feels like another white person crying on the internet. Fuck. Like, I want change. I want people to be safe in their own homes and not have to choose between, like, feeding themselves or themselves. Like, I don't... That was a mess of an episode. Let's talk about what we can do. End it on a positive note. What we can do is take care of our bodies, is take care of our nervous systems. Because the endless scrolling is a lot, right? And the psychology behind the scrolling is we as creatures, as humans, are constantly on the lookout for something, right? It is our innate biology. We are constantly looking for things, and the endless scroll triggers that in our brains. And it gives us the reward because we found something, right? When we scroll. So we need to be better at curating what we see so that we're not constantly bombarded with bad. And we also need to externalize the bad. So one of the techniques that is somatic that has helped me quite a bit is taken from, and I learned it from a little old lady on TikTok, a little Chinese lady. And it is allowing the body to release. And it's basically taking your arms and swinging them kind of not purposefully and just swinging, right? And just moving allows our body to understand that we are not needing to run anything, because this is what that creates, right? All of this fear and all of this anger, it creates this like need to run, move. It creates a lot of energy within us. Another one that I find really useful is pressing my hands together very hard and just pushing, and that allows me to feel the warmth within my hands, that energy, that it feels almost like I'm creating like some sort of ball, like just pressing really, really hard. Is the silent scream, where you exhale incredibly loud as if you are going to scream. That's really useful for people who can't scream for real. Screaming for real really works. Screaming into a pillow, go in your car and scream. Don't drive and scream, just scream. Allow yourself to release this energy, because it is going to poison you and it is going to harm you, and you don't need to be harmed. You need to be strong, because we are in the thick of the fight, and a lot of us feel like there is this like impending something, right? We need to be ready to hide our neighbors and fight for our neighbors. Like the episode where we talked about roles in the revolution, we need to figure out who you are in that revolution and how you can best affect things. But most importantly, you need to protect yourself first, and you need to figure out how to create during this. Creation will soothe you. And whether that is painting, drawing, knitting, dancing. Dancing's incredible for releasing tension and trauma. And the reason that there's so many peoples around the world who use dance as a therapeutic experience and feel something as part of a group. Dancing is incredibly powerful for that. Just shaking your hips is incredibly powerful. Moving your body in a way that feels safe for you. If you like to run, go run. If you like to lift heavy things, if you want to prepare, for fighting, that too. Allow yourself to feel all of it. Because if you are just pushing it down, it will eat you alive. And you deserve better than that. And I will always be here to hold that rage with you, to scream with you, to try to make sense of it with you. Where we go from here. I just gotta change. And maybe the matriarchy is the way to go. I'll leave you with that. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your week. Bye.